Hi there, welcome to An Abundance of Books. My name is Julia and we're kicking off 2025. Ignore that, I'll change it. The problem with the new year is finding the perfect book to read as your kickoff to the year. It's a problem I know that we all face. I got into a fight with my sister, not a fight, but she's wrong. So about whether you can carry books over from December into January, and I'm an absolutely no. I finished reading my last book at 11 a.m. on New Year's Eve, and you can't pick up something else until the new year officially starts. You can read a chapter, dip your toe in, but you can't be reading a book. So we're starting off 2025 fresh. Let me know if you are team me or team sister, and I will judge you accordingly. You know what would actually be fun is to look through what my first book of the year was for all the years that I've been tracking it. Because sometimes I have a system and sometimes I don't. 2018 is the first year I started tracking my reading on this spreadsheet, and my first book was We Were on a Break by Lindsay Kelk. I had read a bunch of other Lindsay Kelks and loved a lot of them. This one didn't work as well for me. In 2019, apparently my first book was About a Boy by Nick Hornby. I don't remember why I read this, and I didn't like it. In 2020, I read This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is interesting because that's a book that's really blown up since. And I think I liked it fine at the time, but it's not necessarily something that was ever going to work for me. I think I appreciated it more than I liked it. And again, no idea why I picked that one. 2021, I think, was the first year that I was doing it on this channel. And I don't remember if I had a system, but I ended up reading Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. There it is. And I think I liked this. It might have been a result of a scavenger hunt, but I liked that it was a start over, very New Year themed. Another book I didn't like. So maybe picking the book at the top of the year doesn't matter. Maybe I'm cursed with the book I have selected. You'll see in a moment. 2022, my first book was The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. This one was definitely the result of a scavenger hunt, and generally I like Ruth Ware. I didn't care for this one. I know a lot of people think this is among her best, but I didn't get it. I gave it a 2. I thought I at least gave it a 3. No, okay, bad. Let's see if 2023 gives us anything. Oh, I should be able to remember. I'm pretty sure my plan for 2023 was I just reread something. I reread a favorite just to make sure I was good. Oh wait, last year was 2024. It's already started. 2023, I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This one, didn't like it. Hi, editor here, ignore everything. So I'm super wrong about basically everything I've said here, and I forgot to talk about 2024. 2024, I read The Well of Ascension. I gave it 4 stars. My goal was I wanted to finish Mistborn in a timely manner, so I was starting things off right. Sequel, it's another plan. But I just kind of forgot about my ratings for everything. I think I've gotten much harsher in my old age. We Were on a Break and About a Boy, I gave both of those 5 stars, which I have no memory of. I think they were both fine, inoffensive. I think I was just really nice then. This Is How You Lose the Time War and Evie Drake, I gave both 3 stars. I think those both pretty much make sense. Mrs. Westaway and Ocean, I gave 2 stars, which I think I would agree with. And then, well, Ascension we talked about, I gave a 4. That's an average of 3.4 for all of our first books of the year. There's some outliers there, but it's not as bad as it used to be. It's definitely trending downward though. But I don't think there's a single book there that I gave 5 stars. Maybe one I gave 4, but generally the first book of the year is bad. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to pick something good because it's the start of a year, setting the tone, but apparently it doesn't matter. Some of those were great reading years, some of those were horrible reading years. My thought process going into this one was I wanted something that I knew nothing about. I think sometimes I get a little bogged down in the booktube, I get a little too much pressure on this is a book that I'm supposed to love. If I get something that no one's ever told me about, I have no expectations of, surely that will go well. Or at least the decision has been taken out of my hands and I can't feel bad for it. So I went to the bookstore and I found a book. I found this book and then immediately realized it was the second in a series. So I got this book. This is the Kamogawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai, I think. It is a little Japanese cozy mystery. I believe it's about a father-daughter duo who run a store but are also food detectives. They're able to recreate dishes from someone's memories, and I'm getting the impression that it's going to be very soft and welcoming, and look at it! It's so freaking cute. The second one is even cuter. I was gonna say arguably, but no, this is the most adorable book that I've ever seen. But you gotta read 1 to get to 2. So I'm excited to do this. It's only 200 pages. So hopefully, oh, and the font is huge. So hopefully that means that I can get this done in a day or 2, and then if it goes well, I'll have the momentum. If it doesn't go well, I've got lots of other things that will entertain me. I will read this and get back to you. We'll read a couple of books in this vlog just to start the year off right, but no commitment for me, at least me, of this present timeline. So I'll chat to you after I've read some of this. So I finished the book. Place your bets now on what you think the rating is going to be, because I'm a little bit surprised. Can't get over how cute it is still. I'm gonna give this 2 stars, and I'm really upset about it. Part of me wants to give it a 1, part of me wants to give it a 3, so we're gonna settle on a 2. The problem with this book is that it doesn't have like a narrative structure. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but all in my memory Japanese fiction that I've read follows the same kind of format where it's a bit shorter than a novel. This is 200 pages, so like 200, 250, and broken up into like 5 or 6 chapters, and it reads a lot more like slightly interconnected short stories. Confessions is the one that comes to mind when I'm thinking about that format, but I know I've read it in others, and it's not a format that I enjoy. You just don't have enough time to dig into any of the characters, and even the ones that persist through, because each one feels like it's a short story, you don't actually learn about them or they develop over time. This was the most formulaic book that I've ever read. I'm going to recount for you now, to my memory, which I'm sure will be perfect, the sequence of events in every single one of the 6 stories in here. First off, a new person comes to Kyoto looking for the Kamogawa Food Detectives. They find the building. It is unmarked. There's no sign out front. They go in, say hi to the father and daughter who run the place, and they say, "Can we feed you? We'll give you the regular thing." This is in every story. And then they ask how they found them. They say they read it in Gourmet Weekly, a magazine. And then they explain that the daughter runs the detective agency, so they finish their food. It's the most delicious food they've ever had. And then they go into the back to talk to the daughter. They recount their life story about some dish from their past. She writes it all down. She leaves, the person leaves. On their way out, they pet the cat. The cat's name is Drowsy, which is not a very good cat name, but I'm going to blame that on translation. There is a name like Drowsy that I think could work, but Drowsy's not it. It brings to mind like cold medicine. Anyway, they leave, and then the father and daughter have a little interaction between them about the person, about the type of case that it is, and then there's a chapter break. It says 2, and then it's 2 weeks later. It's almost always 2 weeks. The person comes back, they remark on the changes, they walk in, the father greets them, hands them their food, gives them a backstory of, I went to this place to find this ingredient, and I talked to this person who was your old neighbor's grandma, and here's how I found all these ingredients. And then they eat the food, they learn a little life lesson, maybe, about like, your stepmom actually loved you, or your dead husband will be fine. And then they leave, and the father and daughter have like one more little quip, usually about the dead mom, and that's the story. That's every single story in this book. I feel like I've been talking forever, but like that's the experience of reading this, is like you're just doing beat, beat, beat. I think I would enjoy this a lot more if I had a Japanese connection. I can definitely see the appeal of this book, but I think it would have to be someone who is in Japan and really familiar with regional dishes. That's the only way this story works, because he's saying I sourced these mushrooms from this place and this sake from this store, and like explaining how the type of cuisine from this area and this area, how they have slight differences. I could see how that would be interesting, but like who even knows if it's accurate? I'm just kind of baffled that this is beloved and like got a translation. I need to look into it more, because not only is there one, there's two of these books and I bought two of them. So like, do I read this? Is this going to be any different? Truly no character development, no, like I thought it was going to be like maybe a little bit magical and like we'd learn more life lessons along the way. The like softness in here was like barely anything. It's also wild that they skip over the whole detecting part. They do the initial interview and then the guy goes off, has magical travels, talks to like people from this person's past, gets a rounder view of them, and we're not there for any of it. The whole thing takes place inside the restaurant. It's so weird. Again, like I do see how someone could like this, but I don't know how hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people could enjoy it. I'm going to look up Goodreads reviews right after this, but I am just upset. I feel like I'm upset at myself for not appreciating this, but I can't. You didn't give me anything to hook myself into. Like, the writing was hardly anything. It's almost all dialogue and it's very stilted, which is fine. It's just then it causes the characters to suffer. The setting is just this diner. I thought also during the third story, they start mentioning like old patrons who are coming back and like spending more time there. I thought maybe the first two stories were formulaic, but then like the cafe would fill out and we'd get more people. It's my fault for thinking that, because that's definitely not what happened. Really disappointed in this one, but not like spiteful. It was just so clear within the first couple pages that this wasn't going to be a me book, but I read the whole thing. Anyway, that's book number 1 down. Book number 2, this was decided entirely by the library because my audiobook hold came in. This is a book that I picked up on a whim last year and really wanted to read. I don't remember if I heard anyone talk about it or if I had seen books similar to this and was intrigued by those, and the cover just worked for me. It's Pink Glass Houses by Asha Elias, and I don't know anything about this except that it is rich moms in Miami. So Big Little Lies vibes, I'm wondering. I'm hoping for some like Real Housewives type drama. Yeah, it's all about relentless social climbing, and there's something very appealing. I love a book with all unlikable characters, which is what I'm hoping for here. It comes in at 250 pages for me, but it's quite small font. So the audiobook will help me get through this. Again, one I know nothing about other than what is on the dust jacket. I've never heard anyone talk about it. It didn't work out so well last time, but I'm sure it won't happen twice. But this one, I think I am in the mood for a thriller. I think that I will get the feeling that I want out of reading from this, whether or not it's a 5-star. Hopefully. Or it's gonna be garbage. Let's find out. Good morning. I'm here for an update on Pink Glass Houses. I didn't forget I was vlogging. You can't prove that. This is fine. It's taken a really long time to get going. I think now at the 2/3-ish mark, we're starting to have some stuff happen. This follows a bunch of moms at a Miami school that are vying for PTA president, general fundraising things, general social climbing, rich people shenanigans, but it's not nearly as much shenanigans as I was hoping for. They're all kind of sympathetic. They all have reasons for the things that they're doing, and none of them are outright awful, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. There's also, like, they keep teasing you with fun stuff. Like, one of the moms went to a child's birthday party and found some other moms, she didn't confirm this, but she thought they were doing cocaine in the bathroom. And like, that's what I want, but we didn't see anyone do cocaine in the bathroom. Like, that hasn't been confirmed. One of the women is talking about her yacht, and they get all excited about the yacht, and then we never go on the yacht. I hate that in books where like, it's right there, you did something cool, and then just like, didn't. If I got all these moms on a yacht, I would be so much happier. So now finally something has happened. Someone has gotten in trouble for something serious, and that's nice, but it's just kind of dull. I'm doing this on audio and I do really like it. It's full cast. I think I counted 10 narrators. There's 3 main POVs, one like side one, and then there's a couple of interviews from things in the future. I'm having a fine time. This is a debut, so I'm hoping it's written with a twist in mind, but it's also too bad that it's so slow, because this is like, show me a page number, 250, 260 pages. So like, it's not, I'm 100 pages from the end now, maybe less. More stuff should be happening. So I finished the book and I didn't really like it. We got hardly anything at the end. The reveal was dumb. It was about characters who weren't central to the plot at any point. It felt like everything interesting happened off screen, and I'm kind of shocked that people like this. I'll definitely have to look up some reviews to see what I'm missing. This actually reminds me a lot of The Whispers by Ashley Audrain, which is the author of The Push, and I thought, I love The Push, and I was hoping for another like neighborhood rich people drama, and it ended up just being like really dull. This has the same sort of feeling, so I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm very disappointed, and also like the glass house hardly came into it. Like, it was a house owned by people who weren't the characters we were focusing on. It feels like missed opportunity after missed opportunity. So it's done now, which means it goes on this shelf. I did a little bit of a bookshelf clean yesterday, so I've actually got room for new books. It's crazy. But that means I gotta read something else now. I have to read something that I don't know anything about. I'm looking, this is my TBR right here. So we've got some options. I want to go again for something that I know nothing about, I haven't heard anyone talk about, because surely eventually it'll work. I've got some super old things that like would be good, but if I haven't read them in like 3 years, am I ever gonna? I've got this one that I found in a little free library, The Couple in the Photo. That's just sort of a vacation mystery. But I did just come off of a mystery thriller, so maybe this isn't the best pick. You know what I should actually do? And I don't know if I want to commit to this because it looks kind of big. Is Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian. This is one that I bought a year ago, maybe. Just from the cover and the description, it's like a Western magic, and it features a character named Rabbit who can't speak. I love the way that it looks. It's just so pretty on my shelves. It's 450 pages, which is like a lot. Oh, and it's in parts. Part 5. Okay, so big book. You know what? Let's start. Let's get a chapter or 2 in and see how we feel. And if we hate it, we can come back and find something else. Look at this photogenic boy. Do you love the camera? The camera loves you. I am here to update you on my thoughts about Red Rabbit. It's complicated. I like it, I don't love it. It's taken me a really long time to like get into this book. I think there's just too much going on. So the main plot is we're following a bunch of people who have heard about a bounty on this witch, and they're going to kill the witch, collect the bounty, sort of. But there's a whole ragtag group of them, and everyone gets their own POV. So it's like 100 pages until everyone joins up and we're like properly adventuring. And it's just not clear because there's a lot of people surrounding this witch, or like the road trip that we're doing to get to the witch. And it's not always well
laid out who we're talking to or where we are. It always takes a little bit for my brain to switch. It's also got very short chapters. I'd love to tell you how many, but they start again after every part. So like this says there's 16 chapters, but there's probably 6 times that. So you're constantly flipping, and it's just taking, it's not that it's taking too much brain power, it's that they're not helping you in that process. But I think it has really great ideas. I think the writing isn't capturing me, and I don't think that the characters are very well laid out or described, and especially for there being so many of them, that's a problem. But it is horror. It's like a horror adventure, and everywhere we go there's some new spooky awful thing to contend with, and all of those have been really interesting and really well described, and we're getting lots of like weird intersections of things. There's ghosts and there's curses. It's just sort of like a mishmash of everything, and it's the Old West, so there's cowboys and there's no question of like this couldn't happen, of course she's a witch. The one thing that I am really disappointed in is the one thing I knew about it was we're following a witch hunter, Old Tom, and his mysterious mute ward Rabbit, and Rabbit isn't really part of the story. They're just kind of tagging along on stuff. And it's much more about like the cowboys and this woman whose husband has recently died. Look at this boy. And so I'm missing a bit of what that pitch was, I think. I pictured it more of being like a buddy comedy, but not comedy, road trip between these two. And like Rabbit just doesn't really play into it. So my conspiracy is that Red Rabbit is just a PR title because there's a Tom Clancy book that's called Red Rabbit, and optimize your SEO, go for it. But I hope that Rabbit does play a more important part in the future. Yeah, I'm just flipping through. There's just so much happening. How do I sell you on this book? I think if you like the idea of a horror road trip, this is doing that. It's just too much. It's a little bit too messy for me. I am still enjoying it, and it's going by fairly quickly, so that helps. This is just a book that I am set up to love, and I am not loving it. I like it, and so that's disappointing. I don't think we're gonna get a 5-star in this one, folks, but we'll finish it up and maybe something will blow me away at the end.
Hello, I have finished Red Rabbit, and I'm conflicted about my rating. As I was approaching the last like 50 pages, I was like, this is disappointing, but it's doing so much that I really like that I'm probably gonna toss it a 4. You know, it's like closer to a 3.5, but like close enough. The problem is after finishing it and reflecting on it for more than a minute, I'm like, what did I get out of this? Like, what was the point at the end of it? It was trying to say some stuff about family that didn't really land. The horror weirdness wasn't as much in this last part, or as interesting to me as it was in previous parts. There was like a shootout, which shootouts are like car chases. I just kind of zone out while they're happening. And then the like epilogue bit was nice, but not really necessary and not really building off of anything. Also, mild spoiler, Rabbit, who is described on the back as mute, can just speak. They just decide at the end to start talking for no reason. Rabbit was utilized more, like a tiny bit, but like it's only really about Rabbit in retrospect, which means it's not. I think there's just too many ideas in here, and we didn't have a strong enough character focus to take us through all of these locations. This author has written quite a few books. I don't think most of them are in a Western theme. I think they're horror though, and so I'm surprised, this is so mean, that like a more seasoned author wouldn't have a better handle on characters, but maybe that's what I get for expecting something out of a man. So landing on a 3-star for this. I would recommend it. I think horror road trip really works. Just don't expect the most from the characters and you might have a good time. If the writing gels with you more than it does with me, then I think you'll be just fine. So to recap our first few books of the year, we read The Kamogawa Food Detectives. This is a 2-star, but no ill will toward this. Then we have Pink Glass Houses, which I have decided to drop to 1. I think that much like with Red Rabbit, when I finished it and thought about it for more than a minute, I was like, what did I get out of this? I think in a thriller, I can forgive a lot because the ending is what I'm waiting for. You can pull out a lot with an ending, and the ending here was bad. So like, what did I just spend all of my time waiting for? It's not a bad book, but like, actually nothing happens in here. And it's just missed opportunity after missed opportunity. So that's a 1. And then Red Rabbit, which we gave a 3, which means that our average rating so far this year is a 2. Really surprising, because all of these have been things that I picked up thinking that I would love, and none of them have like a great average rating on Goodreads, but I still figured, well, what do the people know? I know better than the people. Turns out I don't know better than the people. But I still get to read some interesting things, some really varied things, and I appreciate this range for myself. I just wish I had better versions of each of these books. Anyway, that's all from me. Let me know what your first read of the year was. Was it successful? I hope it was better, and I hope all of our average ratings for the year are better than a 2. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon in another video. Goodbye.